Hi, I'm Pearl, and today I really want to talk about unconditional love. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to teach you how I practice unconditional love. And I heard somebody using this expression in some of the conversations and discussions about what's going on in our world right now, with protests and racism and that kind of thing. And I just wanted to kind of like clarify some of the concepts and understanding of a universe of unconditional love. Nearly called it universal love there, which it actually kind of is as well. And then as I sort of explain this, I just want to kind of try and teach this in a way that's not not adhering to any particular religion, but from a kind of a purely practical standpoint. But at the end, I'll come back to some of the religions and some of the pointers that we have from certain religions as well, which can help. When I was writing about universal unconditional love before, the way I described it, and I think this is for me the perfect thing, is that it's like the sun shining, and actually we all do love each other unconditionally all the time. But what happens is we get like a cloud glows across the sun, or the sun goes to the other side of the planet. And when we're not experiencing that sort of full glare that you can see right now, sometimes it feels like we say, oh, there's no sun. Oh, an aeroplane. So somebody might say, oh, there's no sun today, or the sun's not out today. But of course the sun is always there, and the sun is keeping us warm all the time. And so that unconditional love actually exists all the time. But we have learned to love conditionally. We have been taught to love conditionally. Why do we learn that? Why do we practice that? And we've been practicing it for a long time. And the answer is that that's how, for most of us, our parents taught us and their parents taught them. If we get something right, you get a smile and you get a cuddle. If you get something wrong, or you do something that people don't want you to do, you might get a smack, or you get sent to your room, or you get told off. And windy. And I don't know if you've ever been around, if you hear people, the way people talk to their kids. And I think it's so important to really focus on the way we speak to each other and the way we speak to children. And hear that when people tell off their child, or tell their child you've done something wrong, very often it sounds full of hate. It sounds aggressive. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed in you. This kind of thing. And this is how we've learned to train each other to do the right thing. And if we look around at the world at the moment and the way people are behaving, if you think about it, a lot of it is, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to unfollow you on social media. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to shut you down. If you don't agree with what I say and what I do, I'm going to treat you like I don't love you anymore. I'm going to take my love away. I'm going to take my affection away from you. And that's how we've been taught to behave. And it's kind of a challenging one to figure out. And it's really important, I think, for us to look at how we treat ourselves as well. Because we do that to ourselves, don't we? If I do stuff that I am proud of myself, if I get things right, I treat myself. But if I make mistakes, I might judge myself. I might punish myself by not letting myself do the other things I want, by making myself do something, like a punishment even, because we've been so well taught to behave like that and to treat ourselves, show affection to ourselves. If we think we've done something good, and to take that affection away from ourselves if we think we've done something bad. And it's really sad because, so often we don't know how long we have with each other. We don't know how long we have with our friends, with our families. And it's really sad if we lose our friends, we lose our family members, and the last things that we said to them were cruel. The last things we said to them were, now I'm one of 5 brothers and sisters who I grew up with, and sometimes we don't get along because we don't agree with each other, and we do find it difficult to rise above. But I know absolutely that we love each other so much. But sometimes we don't always act as we actually feel underneath the sort of the day-to-day issues and problems and disagreements that we have. And that's what we're like as a human family as well. If we disagree with each other, if we have different viewpoints, we punish each other. And that's something that we need to learn from, because we can have a choice about how we behave in life and how we treat each other. And I think that when we realise how short life is, we always want to have spent as much time as we can with the people that we love and enjoyed the time, and not use that time to try and punish them or to persuade them that we're right and they're wrong, or any of those things. We can just love people exactly the way that they are. So the way that I practice unconditional love for myself and for others is very simple, and I use this mantra, this expression, which is, I am perfect, and every step I take is perfect. Because when I look at my own life and I look at sort of the journey I went on, the Camino, I realised that no matter how many mistakes I made along the way, I was heading to the right place at the right time. And the journey was perfect. And that's what I discovered so many times along the way, that I would turn up exactly the right moment. So I would get delayed for one reason, or I would get it wrong and I would make mistakes. But I would then kind of get back on my path. And if it wasn't for the mistakes, I wouldn't have been learning. So I also say sometimes there are no mistakes. That where we get things wrong, we learn and we grow. We evolve from the problems that we experience. So if I am perfect, and every step I take is perfect, suddenly I appreciated, when I was traveling around, and I was actually sitting on top of a mountain in Hawaii, which is a really good place to have an epiphany, right? And I sat there and I was meditating on this unconditional love for myself. And in that moment I realised, motorbike. And I had been struggling with various people and the things they had done and the way they would behave towards me, all those kind of things. And suddenly I looked at it again and I said, if my journey is perfect, if I am perfect and every step I take is perfect, then so is theirs. They are on a journey to wherever they need to go in life, and they are perfect, and every step they take is perfect. And it was a huge adjustment for me, because it went from loving someone and thinking, often we talk about our friends and our family, and we say, if they just do this, if they just do that, I love them so much, I just wish they would study a bit harder, or I just wish they would eat better, or I just wish they would take a bit more exercise, or I just wish they wouldn't spend all their money on this, or I just wish they wouldn't do that. And we equate that worry and that care as love. And what we're really doing is we're saying, I wish they would change. I wish they would change. I wish they would change. And of course, people will change. They're always changing. But it is, after all, their life. And it's not for us to choose people's paths or disrespect their choices. And if we go back to that beautiful word, respect, if I can respect somebody, if I can love them, even if I think they're out of their mind, even if I think they're on completely the wrong path, I can love and respect that person. And it's amazing what that unconditional love can create and generate. It's amazing how often when we just focus on the love and loving with our whole hearts and not trying to change anyone, miracles happen. I'm not saying you love somebody, you do that unconditional love in order to get somebody to change and be who you want. No, but miracles happen. And miracles happen because our perspective changes, their perspective changes. And I think it's something, that we know that there is magic in love. We know that love is healing. But when we just stop holding back. And Don Miguel is one of my greatest teachers. He always says this thing, and he says, what makes you happy is the love coming out of you, setting that love free. So all the time that we are withholding that love, we are hurting ourselves. In the same way that when we do not forgive, we are hurting ourselves. And I'm not saying you have to agree with anybody. You don't have to tell them that they're right. This is not what I'm talking about. But something about when we love someone and we let go of that need to control, of that need to judge, of that need to patrol people and tell them what's right for them. Something happens, something magical and special happens, and we are healed and our relationships are healed. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing to witness. And miracles happen every day when we let love do its thing and we stop holding it back and we just let it go. So there's a couple of things. Some people are looking at this and going, I know, but they're racist. I know, that they're mean to me, or they're sexist, they're this. They could be... I'm not going to use any expressions, so I'm not going to say any names. But I'm going to call on some big guns now, and I'm going to call on the Christian faith. And the greatest lesson ever taught by Jesus for me is the words that he said on the cross, which were, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." And when we talk about unconditional love, another expression that came to mind when I was thinking about this is, although it's a wee bit judgmental, love the sinner, hate the sin. If you really believe that somebody is so wrong and so bad and so evil, and I want to get into the judgment, because I know people will judge somebody one way and another person will judge them the other way. Hate the sin if you think it's a sin. Love the sinner. And then transformation can happen. So the thing that you regard as a sin, when you start loving the sinner, it changes you. It changes your relationship, changes your perception and your perspective. And very often people realize that it was none of their business what somebody chooses to do with their life, what somebody chooses to believe. But they really loved that judgment, They were addicted to judging another person. And I know myself, I have a big problem with judgment, with anger, all kinds of sins. So I've got to kind of keep it real. And so every day I practice unconditional love for my nearest and dearest. And I've written books about it. I always say I've written books about this. And when I started, I had this kind of epiphany, and I thought, wow, this is the truth. Another plane. But what happened was I knew I had to leave my family because I would otherwise get caught up in our day-to-day issues and problems. And I had to kind of go away, almost like going to, an ashram or a temple or on retreat, so that I could sit and meditate every day on unconditional love for each person in my family. And to get to that point of being able to say, as I do for myself, is I am perfect and every step I take is perfect. And what I understand from that, and it's a real simple way of saying unconditional love, letting go, releasing that love, is opening our hearts, So every time I point at someone in a good way, in a positive way, and what's going on with the planes here, but every time I focus on somebody I love, and I say, this person is perfect, and every step they take is perfect, I'm opening my heart to them. I'm opening up to that relationship and to that person. And that is another one of those things that creates miracles. It creates miracles when we open our hearts. And it is just exactly the same thing. And sometimes that forgiveness is what we need to really open our hearts. Sometimes it's practicing unconditional love. And very often those kind of come around to being the same thing, but slightly different. Some people maybe need to start with one and work to the other. Some people need to start with another, with forgiveness perhaps, and move to unconditional love. And it's really just getting ourselves into a state that we can understand and appreciate what is truth, what is real, not what we've been conditioned to receive and to give. Because we've been conditioned to give and receive conditional love. To say, I'll be nice to you if you agree with me. I'll be nice to you if you do what I say. I'll be nice to you if you eat what I tell you to eat. I'll be nice to you if you vote the way that I want you to vote. And that's conditional love. Because it says right in the conditions, the conditional love, this is my condition to you. And I just want to share one beautiful thing I saw, and I really hope it's true. I saw it on social media. And yesterday there was a demonstration, and I think this was at Waterloo Station in London. And the picture that I saw was a demonstrator in one of the Black Lives Matter UK protests, a black man. And over his shoulder, even though it sounds a bit weird because there's police around in their riot gear and everything, but even though there were these sort of authority figures around, this man had a white man over his shoulder. You can go and look this up, He had this white man over his shoulder and he was carrying him. And the story is, and I really hope this is true because I think it's beautiful, is he was carrying this guy who was a far-right, racist, anti-protester, demonstrator, whatever you call it, to medical attention because he'd been attacked and been beaten up in this clash between people protesting for different things. But in that moment when this guy was on the floor and really hurt, his enemy picked him up and took him to medical attention. And that's love, isn't it? That's love. And that's what we want to see, we want to experience in life, that we can go above our differences and turn hate into love. Because that's a miracle, right? Turn hate into love, because I'm going to tell you, I don't believe in hate. I've experienced enough of it to know that it's an illusion. And that down deep we all love each other, and that love is there. And we can spend our time pretending that we have conditional love. We can spend our time with our brothers and sisters, with our friends, with our families, with people around the world, pretending. We can pretend that we don't like each other. We can pretend that we hate each other. or we can just get on with accepting and opening our hearts and releasing that amazing unconditional love we have for one another. And I would give you lots of references from Buddhism as well, but let's face it, I think if you know anything about Buddhism, you'll know we don't like to hate on anyone. And we like to open our hearts and express and give love and compassion, loving compassion for each other, which is just another word for love. It's getting windy again. I hope that helps. And if not, give me some questions and I'll try and do better next time. We are all evolving. And we don't always get it right first time. But we can make it work. We definitely can. And we can go from hate to love so quickly. Think about that guy picking up somebody who was dead set against him, who hated him. And you just got to pick up your brother. Not to pick them up and take them where they don't want to go, but out of compassion and love and genuinely wanting to help each other. And in the simplest way and in the most beautiful way that we possibly can. I hope it helps. I love you. It won't stop. It won't stop. Maybe I forgot to say anything. I'd say go and look, whatever religion you are, whatever religion you follow. And for me, I always find that love is at the heart of every single religion. Just got to love your brother, Like Jesus said, just got to love one another. That's it. So simple. Such a simple commandment, that new commandment. And those of you who are Christians will probably remember it and say it better than me. But it was this, isn't it? Unto thee I give you a new commandment, that you should love one another. And I'm not saying it like that. I'm not telling you because I find it challenging at times. Of course I do. There are times when I get angry and I want to judge people. So I just gotta keep practicing. Just keep practicing. And it gets easier and it gets better. But I've spent a lot of time sitting on rocks trying to figure this stuff out. I practice. Now I'm going to practice switching this off now. Bye.